Hi, my name is Jason, and today I'm going to convince why Walt Disney is a definite buy. Now we're gonna start a bit on the company background, walking through some qualitative arguments, some financials, and eventually some closing statements on why Disney is a buy. Now we're moving from the business segments itself. Disney has parks, experiences, and consumer products as their biggest component of their revenue. Moving on, second is they have media networks, studio entertainment next, and finally direct to consumer and international. And these are all based on Disney's segmentation of their fiscal statements themselves. And now moving on to some actual businesses that they own, we can see that they have ESPN, ABC, which are pretty big. They got Disneyland on their theme parks, Marvel, and as of March 2019, they actually acquired 21st Century Fox, who also owns 60% of Hulu, which basically means that as of March 2019, Disney has already owned 60% of around 60% of Hulu. Now, moving on to the first qualitative argument, Disney Plus. Now, Disney Plus is a huge thing because streaming services is all over the world. And Disney Plus, having Disney has their own original content, they have their own characters, they even have non-Disney content um, such as National Geographic and this streaming services. They can easily win the market over Netflix, which is one of the biggest competitors in their streaming services. Because Netflix might change how people watch television, but they do not change what people watch in general. And Disney Plus owns all Disney characters, which include Toy Story, Avengers, and Marvel, and all other really good movies such as Star Wars and X-Men. And those are they can according to their statements, they can easily make series out of each of those characters, and it's gonna be really big in the market. And not just that, Netflix might be correlated with teenagers and adults, but Disney Plus are open for children too because it's gonna be a family type streaming services, and this way they're gonna have pretty good forecasted growth, and it's eventually gonna grow Disney even further. Now, second is Hulu. As mentioned before, Disney currently owns around 60% of Hulu, and actually, just as of yesterday, Disney is about to take full control of Hulu as they are going to acquire from Comcast, the other around 33% of Hulu, and they're estimated to be profitable by 2023 with a forecasted increase in around 20 million subscribers by 2024. And again, with having Hulu and Disney Plus, there does not seem to be that big of a cannibalism because Hulu will be aimed more towards adult content later in the future, and Disney Plus is still going to be a family content in general. And Hulu is eventually going to be one of the biggest core components in Disney to eventually help with their growth. Next up, we have ESPN Plus with that was just launched April 2018 with having over 2 million subscribers in a year, showing how big ESPN Plus is. And with the ESPN Plus, they can easily having a bundling with Disney Plus or even with Hulu too. And this way, they can also have they can easily have a great growth with the bundling. Furthermore, ESPN Plus also became the exclusive outlet for UFC starting as of March 2019, which is around 2 months ago only. And UFC being one of the biggest sports and still increasing massively, having ESPN Plus being the only outlet for UFC, those UFC fans almost always would want to subscribe to ESPN Plus if they really want to watch UFC the way they really like it. And those are three qualitative arguments on why Disney seems to really be able to increase in their growth despite their massive size as of now. And now moving on to some financials. Here are some assumptions that we have, and from here, some of the really important ones include tax rate, which is derived by taking 75% of last year's tax rate with 25% of the average of the previous 4 years. And terminal growth wise, I decided to choose 22.5% because starting the forecasted year of 2022, getting it above on 3 or above 3 might sound too optimistic because growth will increase in the prior years based on those three qualitative arguments, and it's been taken into account in the revenue segment before 2022, yeah. And if we are just looking at the worst to realistic case scenario, and we will still be able to prove why Disney is a buy. And we can see that the WACC use is 7.8%, and we can focus on the WACC here, as you can see from the data table on the right. Now Bloomberg, which we can basically say the general WACC use is actually 7.3%, which will actually has a pretty great outcome of 204 in stock price. But we actually want to do a worst to a realistic case scenario of 7.8%, which will bring the stock price down a bit to 182, but it actually still has a potential upside of 35%. This really shows that even if we're trying to be a bit bearish, this is still a buy because it has a large potential upside with all the realistic DCF calculations over, as you can see on the table over here. And this is with the stock price estimation of 182, we can really see how high it is compared to the current price of 134, and this we can really show how Disney is again a buy. Now, we can also do some relative valuation just because we don't want to rely just mainly on DCF, although we do want to focus more on DCF. Now, looking at the relative valuation, we don't actually have any multiples. We don't actually have any comps that have the similar size as Disney, and the biggest one is Comcast with 9.63 multiple in terms of value per EBITDA. And by having the exact same multiple, we might have a lower value of 96.8, which with the current price will have a potential downside of 28.12%. But again, this is a pessimistic approach because we are using Comcast's valuation when Disney can easily go over 10 times value per EBITDA because of their biggest size in the industry. Now, combining both of them, we have DCF estimate of 182 with 75% weight and 25% weight of relative valuation of 96 in price will get us a price target of 161.22, which has a potential upside of 20.31% compared to the current price that Disney has at the moment. And even with this worst case scenario, we can still have this bunch of potential upside, and this can easily be as big as 177.56 price per share, with again 32.51 potential upside if we just tweak the WACC using Bloomberg's WACC of 7.3%. This can really show how even financial wise, using worst to realistic scenario, this is still a completely easy buy. And lastly, to close it off, Disney still has a bunch of content that is upcoming in this year. We got Lion King, Frozen, Aladdin. Those are all big. Those are all really big movies who are eventually going to increase Disney's standing even further, because Avengers has proven to be the second top grossing film ever, which can still be Disney's core content and still increase Disney's growth in general, because they have theme park, they have their own products and other areas. And by having this original content, they can also bundle it up with Disney's other streaming services, and eventually we can really not see any slowing down in growth, because the content itself really derive values, and these films will always strengthen Disney's kingdom, with all the characters being dented into everyone to continue watching Disney, go into their theme parks, buy their products, and still watching their Disney Channel all the time. And eventually, we can really see on why Disney will always be a buy as of now. Thank you.